Nice technical difficulties to get us going. It wouldn't be a true Mark side of the, but it's coming. The music will be coming. Let's try this first.
Powered by Riverside F.
What was that? There we go.
Here we go! Break out! The cry of the Lord I love! No one let me! Break out! The cry of the Lord I love! No one let me! Man against man, creed against creed.
That was weird. I couldn't hear it, and then it just blasted on. But we're here, and we're ready for another episode of Mark's Side of the Ring. Got a feeling it's going to be a good one. Welcome to everyone who's joining us on YouTube and Facebook. And of course, joined by the usual crew. We've got David, Peter, Robbie, and Kev. How are we all doing? You all right?
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. So, loads to get through today. Absolutely loads. Obviously, we're going to talk all about Full Gear. We're going to talk all about Survivor Series. I've got a little bit of an opportunity for Kev to vent about one of the most celebrated stipulations in wrestling history. Where's Roman Reigns? My sources have been at it again. You might be surprised to hear where he's at. And of course, if we get time after all of that, we're going to kind of go through some conversations about the best heel turns in WWE history. So, yeah, we'll take it off from there. Was it heel turns, Robbie, or was it worst booking decisions? What did we decide we were going for?
The results were the heel turns, and I'll put another one for booking decisions today.
Cool. So we'll do heel turns today. We'll probably do booking decisions next week. But if the technology gods allow us, I'm going to hand over to the main man himself. This is our latest wrestling news, our breaking news correspondent. Here we go.
And we are back. It's the only pro wrestling podcast where you won't find ads for AG1, Manscaped, Bluetooth, NordVPN, Clash of Clans, or whatever mortgage plan Conrad Thompson is selling this week. Nothing but insight, opinions, and news. Quite nice, that. We kick off the happenings of this week on Monday Night Raw, where Mini Finn Balor himself, JD McDonough, was officially patched into the Judgment Day, and by the end of the show, Drew McIntyre completed his heel turn and aligned himself, at least temporarily, with the Judgment Day ahead of WarGames, tipping the scale towards the heels until Cody's crew find their fifth man out of nowhere. Further WarGames developments took place over on Friday Night SmackDown, where Becky Lynch showed her support for Bianca Belair and Charlotte, showing on-screen solidarity with the Queen for the first time in over 5 years, with fans even speculating that the rumoured off-screen rift has also been healed, or we've just been worked for the last 2 years. Isn't being a wrestling fan fun? Moving on to Ring of Honor and the final third of the WrestleMania 35 main event, Ronda Rousey made her debut for the company this past weekend after making an early appearance for Wrestle Revolver alongside Marina Shafir. Nothing official on if Ronda will make Ring of Honor and by extension AEW her new home, but it seems that the free agent status of the Rowdy one has flown below the radar of everyone. And on the topic of free agents, the aerial assassin Will Ospreay was unveiled as the latest member of the AEW roster at Full Gear. Reports from Fightful Select indicate Ospreay will not need to relocate to the US full time, and that it is a multi-year deal he has signed, which will still allow him to appear for New Japan Wrestling due to the strong work relationship between the two companies. And while Ospreay did appear at Full Gear, his contract does not expire until the end of January 2024. And speaking of Full Gear, this past Saturday saw an overall enjoyable event take place at the Kia Forum in LA. Notable results saw Julia Hart ascend to TBS champion, Toni Storm besting Hikaru Shida for the women's title, and title retentions from Big Bill, Ricky Starks, Orange Cassidy, and MJF. We'll be looking at all the news, Full Gear, the Wrestle Profits update, and a fan voted best heel turn of all time, and whatever wrestling idiosyncrasies Kev has vexed this week. That is the news, and this is Mark's Side of the Ring. And that really is nice.
I've not tried it yet. I still haven't tried it, but I feel like because we're talking about doing a watch along at some point. I was hoping it was going to be Survivor Series, but I don't think it will be. Certainly the Rumble, and I think get my way through the night trying the various wrestling endorsed energy drinks like Prime, the Rock's energy drink. I think I had Zoa, Ric Flair's mushroom concoction. I think we need to try it all to kind of keep. So, but I mean, let's. I think the one that got me, and we've talked a lot about Will Ospreay over the last couple of weeks. Did it surprise anyone that we found out so quickly that of his destination for AEW? Because I think we've been speculating for a couple of weeks now where he was going to go, and I guess that question's been answered likely much sooner than we'd expected. I mean, what did you think of the news, David? Were you expecting it to be him to be the mystery signing when Tony Khan announced his latest big announcement?
I didn't think it was going to be him because with him already being on the shows, I thought a big announcement would have been somebody a lot that hadn't been there, and a little bit disappointed, but I'm happy because he suits AEW much better than he would WWE, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun run for him, I think. Like his match with Jericho was great. You know, I've kind of waxed lyrical about him throughout our episodes of Mark's Side of the Ring. I mean, who did you think it was going to be out of interest? Because I think had they announced that a bit earlier, that probably would have been our 5-pointer for Wrestle Profit. Like we probably would have picked who we thought it was going to be. We obviously went another way, which we'll talk about later. Who did you think it was going to be?
I didn't have a clue. there's you've got all them free agents from WWE, but all their 90-day no-compete clauses don't run out till December, so it couldn't have been any of them. So, and Ronda Rousey turning up on Ring of Honor on a Friday night was a bit odd.
Yeah, because I guess that turns into it because Ronda Rousey had kind of crossed my mind as someone potentially that it could be, and I wasn't quite sure what kind of reaction that she'd get for that. For the record, I've always in WWE, and I think she got a bit of a tough slog of it towards the end. But yeah, she just kind of sort of turned up just randomly on Ring of Honor of all things, which I think's maybe kind of evidence that she's just doing it for the fun of it at this point rather than than anything else. Robbie, did you think she was a serious consideration for Tony and a mystery signing?
Nah, I didn't think it would be Ronda. I'm similar to David. As much as I like Ospreay going to AEW, you would have preferred someone who's not been on AEW. Having said that, I think Ronda Rousey's done it the right way. She's gone to Ring of Honor. Has she gone there to hone her skills at a smaller scale and work her way back up? That, for me, that would be the ideal route for Ronda Rousey to get straight back up to the top again.
I mean, I guess for me, what I took away from it, like you say, he was kind of someone who'd already been part of AEW. Some of their biggest shows of all time. He was kind of very much a marquee name. But the pop he got when he came out was pretty damn impressive, I think, considering that. I certainly don't think that the fans in attendance felt let down by that announcement. And I don't think I did. I think, like you, David, I was just pleased that he is signing with them. I think I'd said my heart was leaning to, if I was making that decision, my heart would have lent towards him going to AEW. I mean, Kev, were you disappointed by the announcement, or did you think it was a good one, or where were you at?
I think it's a good one. I mean, he is suited for AEW. I mean, I can't see Will house show after house show every night. He seems to be one of them people who leave seem like once a week, and I think the type of wrestling he does as well, he wouldn't have the longevity every night. That kind of like, he's not really suited at WWE at the minute. I don't think, and I said on other podcasts as well that he's scheduled like he goes home for Christmas and stuff, and he just wouldn't want to work Christmas Day with WWE, and sort of knew it wouldn't be. Well, I knew he wouldn't go to WWE, but it's more suited to him because obviously with AEW not doing house shows and stuff, it's like maybe 2 shows a week, and then like the pay-per-views, it's best for him. So I think he'll be much. Yeah.
And I think I respect that as well, because you know what it is. Like, if I was a wrestler, like, yeah, you know, he's always been like the dream for for most wrestlers and headline WrestleMania and all that stuff. But yeah, like I wouldn't want to miss Christmases and birthdays and all that stuff. Like, we talk about kind of the in-ring sacrifices that wrestlers make, but you know, I guess the emotional sacrifice is probably just as profound. Like, you know, missing, you know, children growing up and missing these special occasions and weddings and all of this kind of stuff. So I've got to respect that from him. You know, if he's putting his family first, which I feel like Kevin Owens has always kind of come across that he does the same. That, you know, he makes these decisions for his family, and that's what he does. I mean, Peter, what were your thoughts? Who did you think the mystery guy or girl was going to be?
I really wasn't sure because his announcement was kind of vague. Didn't make it seem like it was going to be a big deal, whoever the real reveal was going to be. I didn't think Ospreay, just for the fact that he's still he is still under contract. So that's why Ospreay didn't cross my mind, just because he's still officially under contract with New Japan. But clearly the working relationship they've got, Will's clearly like, look, I'm not coming back and do it this way. So I'm happy for him if that's the best decision for him. Personally, I would have liked to see him dip his toe into WWE waters. Something a little bit different from it. We've seen a lot of the stuff he's already done in AEW already. There's still some new stuff he can do. There's some guys he hasn't worked yet. But for me, I would have liked to see him in WWE. But, you know, I think the allure of Wembley Stadium next year might have just been too much of a pull. Because inevitably WWE will get there, but you just don't know when. And at least he knows in the next 12 months we're going to be there, and he's got a shot at being a major part of it again.
Yeah. Like, I guess there was a presumption they'd come back next year after Money in the Bank, but to be fair, they're doing an event in Germany. They've just announced Backlash in Paris. Like, there's a chance they might not. Do you know what I mean? There's a chance that they might, you know, favor territories that they've not been to for a long time, and that's kind of fair enough. So at least, like you say, obviously it was announced a year out that they're going back to Wembley, and you know, I mean, for everyone here, like, just the, you know, the idea. I mean, cards subject to change. That's always the thing, isn't it? But obviously, very very likely that he's going to be there next year, probably in a marquee match, if not the main event. Does that make anyone more interested in getting a ticket for all in?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
I want to go.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going now.
Yeah. I think we should try and do something like, we should all see if we can all get there. We can maybe do like kind of a special episode from London or something, if, you know, I think that could be fun. But yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it too. But then, to be fair, like, WWE officially announced some Backlash in Paris as well. That got me thinking as well. You know, it's probably cheaper to go to Paris than it is to go to London these days. So then that was a consideration as well. So it's just great that, you know, I think, Peter, you've been talking about going to Germany, like, you know, for it's a Bash in Berlin, like,
Yeah.
so it's great that, you know, both companies are really making the effort in getting over, and not just for like a house show tour or something, but putting on big events. Even TNA doing, I think was it their Turning Point event that's going to be going out in January from Newcastle. So it's great to see these companies kind of doing all that stuff. It's absolutely awesome. I mean, to jump back to Ronda Rousey for a minute, you know, do we think, obviously Tony Khan said, you know, we haven't signed her. She, you know, she had a good time. It was fun, but that's about as far as it goes. What do we think? Do we think it's only a matter of time before she's all elite?
Yeah, that'll be the next step. She'll be going to AEW. I think she'll start Ring of Honor, and then, like I just said, go work her way up to the main shows.
Yeah,
I think she'll do a like per appearance thing. I don't think she'll be officially all elite. I think someone who was very outspoken about how women's wrestling was presented in the time they were given, etc. You know, granted they had two matches on the show, which we'll get to later. But I think if they gave the women's division more focus and committed to it, that might make her more inclined. But at the minute, I think she'll just do a shot here, a shot there, and see how it goes. And if they give it a little bit more focus, then I'm sure she'll jump at the chance to get back in the ring.
I almost feel like she'd really benefit from like that Rob Van Dam approach, where he just kind of turns up every few weeks, has a match or a tag team match or some kind of spot, and then disappears again. Like I think for Van Dam, that just seems to work because it just seems when he turns up on TV, it feels like a big deal. Whereas if he was all elite and he was kind of turning up every week, I don't know, maybe those appearances would have had a bit less behind them. So fingers crossed. It might be quite cool to see, to see Ronda Rousey appearing, kind of doing odd bits and bobs. We will talk about Full Gear very shortly. I know we've all got really strong opinions about the show, but what I want to do first is I just want to pass it over to Kev. Later on in the show, we're going to be doing our Survivor Series predictions. Now, for the last couple of years, WWE have taken on kind of a classic stipulation that first, obviously, back in the NWA, WCW days, Triple H brought it back for NXT. And now, obviously, with some fantastic Ozzy Osbourne Black Sabbath draws, that Survivor Series 2022 intro video is one of the best I've ever seen. It was amazing. I hope they do something like that again. We're finally seeing the return of WarGames. Can we hear it? I'm just going to let Regal say it again because I love it when William Regal. WarGames! WarGames! Yeah. Unfortunately, not everyone's very happy about this development, and we are going to be predicting the matches later on. But if you were tuning in last week, you may have heard that our very own takes a bit of issue with WarGames as a stipulation, for one very fundamental reason. And you might be able to see that, anyone who's kind of watching, you might be able to see that on the piece of paper that he's got hung up on the wall. And I felt it fair to give Kev a bit of an opportunity to express his issues with WarGames. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Kev. But to be fair, it is open season. So if anyone would like to debate this with him, but I'm going to hand it over to Kev to share his issues with the celebrated stipulation that is WarGames. So go for it.
I have no issue with WarGames itself. It's just the fucking rings. It's like let's have two rings that purpose, right? Whenever you watch, and I've tried watching some, and it's pain. Watched about loads of WCW ones this week, and all in one fucking ring. There's no need for two rings, and I like, what's the point in having two rings? And it was like, oh no one really knows. Apparently, Dusty Rhodes just like the idea of a Thunderdome. Like, yeah, there wasn't Thunderdomes. There was just one. I just don't understand. Let's do something that WWE is not doing. It's just. Have you ever tried setting up?
You see, the thing is, obviously, if there's one ring with a roof off, it's just a cage match, and then with a roof on, it's just Hell in a Cell. So I'm kind of near enough Hell in a Cell. Two rings gives us potentially, and you might be saying that they don't do this, which is I guess a fair complaint. Like the two rings gives them the chance to kind of like do some stuff, kind of do some inventive stuff between the two rings, all of that kind of stuff.
Just make the ring bigger, or just do a crisscross. You know what I mean? But like when I used to watch the NXT one, if you jumped out if you climbed over the, so that was a good stipulation. Mind you, I did watch, even though it pained me, I watched some WCW ones, and that the one with Sid Vicious when he powerbombed Brian Pillman. Jesus, that was hard to watch. Dropped him on his head. That was horrible. But yeah, I have set up a ring before, and it's back-breaking labour. And to set it up twice, I bet them lads are not getting double time for that. They're getting paid twice to do that. It's just the aesthetics.
I mean, to be fair, to be fair for you having that experience of setting up a ring, like I can't argue with that. it is very likely that they're not going to be paid any extra for setting up the extra ring. I mean, what do you think, Robbie? Like, I mean, I think the rest of us are all agreed that we don't have issue with the two rings. Like, but it's quite a unique. Like, I even like the arena setups during a WarGames event because obviously you've got the two rings, and I think I'm not sure if WWE do, but didn't WCW used to alternate between the two rings depending on which match it was? So, kind of there was action in both rings. I mean, what do you think of Kevin's arguments about WarGames?
I love WarGames. Massive fan of it because of the action. Technically a cage match, but there's not very many cage matches where they're bringing tables in, chairs, all these weapons that are getting used, and then all the high spots. I mean, I enjoyed the NXT ones. I think the one where Kevin Owens come down to NXT, I really, really enjoy them. A lot of action, and I like the hardcore wrestling. There's nothing better than seeing someone go for a table.
Yeah, just make the ring bigger. It's just a rectangle.
I like this idea of this like enormous ring.
It's
so they can only fit like half the capacity in because the ring's so big.
It becomes a rectangle though as well. Though that's why it's a bit like
True.
you're fighting in a rectangle then instead of a square. It just gets my OCD. Really.
But then what I thought was really funny was that, like, obviously we've been ribbing Kev about this like all week, like sending him links to like WWE Mattel sets of WarGames and telling him this, that, and this, all sorts of stuff. And then he posted this morning, I just realized the version of it, which is obviously blood and guts. So it kind of started all over again. But then I was thinking to myself, and I'm going to have to watch them back. Has Adam Page been in? He must have been in the blood and guts match.
Was he not in the last one against the BCC? I'm sure it's him.
Yeah, because I feel like to do a buckshot lariat across those two rings would be quite a sight to behold. But yeah. So I mean, how do you feel about how AEW use the two rings for blood and guts? Like, is it because obviously they really kind of amp up the brutality? But I mean, do the two rings still feel unnecessary in a blood and guts match, or do you feel they make better use of both rings?
I wouldn't know. I refuse to watch it.
Isn't their cage bigger?
Might be. Aye. It's definitely got a roof on because there's like Sammy and Jericho have kind of had falls from there, haven't they?
Didn't they try to kill Jericho on one of them?
On the first one, yeah.
Is that when he fell into the cardboard boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, I love Jericho, and I feel like he'd be pissed off if he heard me say that. But like, I don't blame him. I blame the camera. I blame the angle. Like, I'd rather he landed on some cardboard boxes. Like, I'd rather that he looked after himself. But if you're gonna do it, at least kind of film it from an angle where it's not really obvious. Like, that would be my takeaway from that. But yeah, I mean, Peter, obviously you've been quite quiet so far. What are your thoughts on WarGames?
I like WarGames, and this is the thing. So, a couple of things. The action doesn't just happen in one ring; it happens in both, but we just see it through one camera. So, and I've got to counter that. Do you enjoy Anarchy in the Arena? This is the Kev.
Or Stadium Stampede.
Or Stadium. Is that
I don't really know much about it, to be honest. So it's not really seen much.
So like on AEW where they do the arena-wide brawl with like they had it all in. That type of thing. Or
even like for like an old school example, something like, because I guess an equivalent would be like the hardcore matches back in the Attitude Era. Like I'm thinking like Big Show, Raven, and Kane from WrestleMania 17, where they were like going through the walls and stuff. I guess that's kind of a.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Everything about WarGames is fine apart from just the rings. Like I love it.
No, there's
all the spots and all the rings that piss me off.
I think the thing is, it's wrestling, and very little of it really makes sense. And if you tug on the string, your world's going to come apart. Why do you run off the ropes? Oh dear.
Yeah.
And you just kind of pull off it. So, no, it's all general. Like, honestly, I love WarGames. When you go back and watch some of the early ones, when it's not spot heavy, it's literally just a fight. and it's for something that's 30 years old, some of them do really hold up quite well. And the NXT ones are the modern day, like we've had it being the modern day equivalent. And last year's was really good as well. And the Blood and Guts ones have been fun. Like it's there for fun, and if you get the right story going into it, it just makes it all the more better. So, more war games, 2 rings, triple stack them, double stack them. Let's go all out. Let's go crazy.
I'm not sure about the 2 rings where they came from. I think it may be due to in California in the 60s or maybe 70s they did 2 ring battle royals, and I think it's just came from that, where Dusty seen that and thought, oh, and put a cage around there.
Actually, wasn't the
and they used to do Battle Bowl.
That's the one I was thinking of, and then they have that one, and then the X amount left go into one, and then whoever wins the match or something like that. So it's a hat on top of a hat.
Yes, but they used to do two battle royals quite a lot.
Oh,
like if TNA did it, but with the 6-sided rings. Yeah. That would have been crazy. But I would have loved
the reverse battle royal.
I would have loved it. Reverse battle royal. Yeah. So, but I mean, we'll talk much more about. Oh, go. What were you gonna say?
No, just gone off on tangent a bit though. But cage matches in NXT was so cool. Like, in Florida, when you used to have the cage would come down from the ceiling. I just remembered that now. You should do that on I just thought the cage matches in NXT were cool when you used to basically lower the cage down, like the Hell in a Cell. So that was just a.
So we'll talk much more about WarGames once obviously we get to that part of Wrestle Profit. Although I'm going to let Regal do it one more time because I've got it and I'm just going to abuse it.
WarGames!
Absolutely love it. It's amazing. So we're kind of going to Wrestle Profit Part 1 and Part 2 because we need to talk about Full Gear, but then we also need to predict Survivor Series as well. I will say, so last time, so I believe it was for Crown Jewel, there was a full sweep by myself. There was another full sweep at Full Gear for every question. So let's say I'll share the screen and then we'll talk a little bit about
it wasn't me either.
A little bit about how it went. Yeah, who do we think? Who do we think it was before?
I'm guessing Kev.
I mean,
Kev or you, Mike?
No, I
Kev did well. I
didn't predict one.
Okay. I mean, I will tell you it was me. Like I was putting the suspense in there, but it was totally me, and I'm smug as out. So I'm gonna share the screen. But like I said, it'll be a good opportunity for the matches as well. I really enjoyed Full Gear. I did put a bit of a thing. I haven't had a bit of a look through the data to see what the ratings were, but I did have a little bit of a poll up to see kind of out of 5 what people gave it, and that's something I might do from now on going forward. I think that might be quite cool. But for me, I think AEW pay-per-views are pretty solid. Even if the build sometimes is a bit questionable, they always seem to deliver kind of just at the right time. So, I mean, before we kind of get to the predictions and stuff, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the event itself. Yeah. So I'll start with David. Like, what were your thoughts on Full Gear event? You know, how does it rank compared to some of the other events that they've put on this year?
I surprisingly really enjoyed it. Managed to watch the whole 4 hours in one go. Which was a bit of a slog, but I got through it. Good matches, not too good matches, but nothing was bad.
Yeah,
it all was above average, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah. There was a couple of bits, and I've got a feeling when we get to the main event, I think me and Robbie, we haven't talked about it, but I feel like we might be on the same page with something. I had not in terms of the match itself, but I had a couple of issues with the main event where I really had to suspend my disbelief a little bit, but we'll get to that. I mean, Peter, what did you make of Full Gear? Did you enjoy the show?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I did it in kind of like 3 hours yesterday, and I literally watched the last hour just before we came on here tonight. Again, you know, the wrestling's good. You've got to try really hard to find bad wrestling nowadays, to be totally honest with you. and that's a testament to all the guys and girls that are doing it. I enjoyed the show. One thing that just didn't make sense whatsoever, if you look at it, the rest of it, some things didn't quite hit line for me. Women's world title match just seemed a little bit flat. But for the well, it's see, I think it was just flat. There was just, for me, it's good. You can appreciate everything's gone, but there was just nothing else kind of behind it. Just seemed to go on a little bit too long. But I had fun with the show. Watch it again. Yeah. But again, AEW always deliver the goods when it comes to a pay-per-view. So, and they did it again. I think it's just the little things that have just got some people concerned, but nothing major for me now.
Yeah. I mean, how about you, Kev? I mean, you can see there from our kind of Wrestle Prophet, you did pretty damn well in terms of predicting this time. What did you make of the event?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't watch it live. I watched the matches, like the highlights of the matches. But what I saw, I really enjoyed. But just one thing: if Ric Flair throws them chops and punches, do not let him fucking wrestle. I'm just saying that right now. When he was eating Christian, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, do not let him wrestle. Because I was just, and it's when Christian was like trying to sell them as well. I'm like, oh god, that was the only criticism I've got on the whole event, really. But yeah, I mean the Hangman Page match, fuck me, that was brutal. Like, it was. I've never struggled to watch a wrestling match for years, but that was so good, but brutal at the same time.
Well, yeah, we'll absolutely get to that. I've got quite a bit to say about that as well. I mean, your thoughts, Robbie? Like I say, it seems like as a whole we all kind of enjoyed it. I think on the poll I put on the group ad said 4 out of 5. I thought that was pretty fair. Again, a couple of things that we'll pick up on, but otherwise it was a really good show.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I put 3 stars. Not all the booking made sense. I mean, I'm not a fan of Tony Storm. Well, not this gimmick anyway. I can't fucking stand it. But agree with Kev, the Hangman Page for me stole the show again. It was just brutal from start to finish. I mean, at one point, I think I called Adam Page a dirty fucking bastard.
I think we all know which bit as well. Because like I winced, like, and to be fair, like I'm a Mick Foley fan. Like I've watched his bloody death matches in Japan and the works. Like I've seen some pretty gory, grisly shit, and that match really, like, I was, and like my wife was watching it as well, and very, very much the same. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's start there because we're talking about it, and it makes us to just kind of that. It was we were kind of divided on who we thought was going to win it. I think most of us thought that Hangman would get like a kind of like get a win back. Me and David were pretty convinced it was going to be that won the day. I mean, who hasn't seen it? It was brutal by any standard. Like, but I think the story was absolutely phenomenal. Even just kind of little touch. And for his entrance and kind of callbacks to previous Texas death matches and all of this kind of stuff, it was fantastic. But as we're saying, really, really hard to watch. Like if you're not into that kind of sort of if you're not into kind of bloody matches and that kind of thing, absolutely, kind of bear it in mind before you watch it. I ended up watching the show in 2 halves because I'd heard about it before I'd watched it. So I watched the first half of the show when my kids were up, and I thought to myself, it's not worth the questions. So I waited till they were in bed, and then I watched the other half. I mean, amongst kind of all the blood and the gore and stuff, and there was a particular spot that really made us wince. Actually, there's one that's just popped into my head. What did you think of the match itself, Dave? Do you think in spite of that, do you think that there was like I do you think there was a good story told there?
I really enjoyed it. I'm not a fan of Hangman Page. But when Swerve came out, he looks like he was a top guy, just walking down to the ring. And I thought, whoa, that's what you need. And then when Hangman comes running out before his blinking music plays, that doesn't happen in wrestling anymore. And that just started it off on a good stead. And I think the staples, ow.
Oh, I know.
You thought to yourself, oh, that's just him using a stapler. There's no staples in it. Oh, there was.
Oh yeah, you can see them.
Oh yeah. And
absolutely.
But when Hangman did the blood thing, when he got the blood in his mouth, I was nearly sick.
Mm-hmm.
But he's mental. He's affected by what Swerve's done, and it's made him do some crazy shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think for me, there were two spots. So that was one of them, and that's the one that everyone's talking about. The other that got me, and correct us if I'm wrong, because I didn't see any hands that go up or anything, but I feel like there was like an unprotected headshot at one point. And like, for me, I think at this point in the game, when we know the impact that they have, like, I just don't think, like, if I was running a wrestling company, I'd be very much like WWE. I would be like, no way, like, we're not doing that. So that was the only part of the match. Those were the only two parts of the match where I was absolutely like, oh, nah. I thought Swerve's, when I don't know, obviously, if Swerve had bladed or if it was, but it was comparable to like Eddie Guerrero 2004. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With JBL, like it was. He obviously nicked something because it was just streaming, which again made it really hard to watch. Which makes me think, and I don't know, because my wife said this, and I'd be interested to know what you guys thought because of that, and just for kind of how, and this is pretty quite graphic. People haven't seen it, but just how fast that blood was running. Do we think that spot with Hangman, like kind of like drinking, like sort of spitting the blood out and this kind of thing, do we think that was improvised in the moment?
It looked like it to me, because he was about to go to another move, and then all of a sudden he thought, right, here's a spot, yeah, and he just got under the blood. You'd have to be quite fucking twisted if that was the plan. I mean, out of all the things you want to do in a wrestling match, I can't imagine that's top of the fucking list.
Well, no. I mean, I've not even seen Moxley do something like that. So.
Nah.
I think later on in the match, when they poured the water on their heads as well, that made it look even more bloody, which give more to the match, to be honest, for me. I was watching it with the wife sitting next to us, and she's just like, do they get blood transfusions after this? I was like,
you're like, maybe this time.
I've got no idea.
Yeah, no, it was a crazy match, and I'd be interested, like, I'm not exactly like, I don't hold much stock in like Dave Meltzer ratings and stuff, but I would be interested to see how he rates this match, because I think, elements of it that weren't for everyone, elements of it that weren't for me, but the match was phenomenal, and it's kind of support what you'd said, David. Like, I feel like that Swerve's felt like a main event guy since All In. So from that moment he walked out of Wembley, I've been like, this guy needs to be in the main event. Like, he just seems to have transcended, from ex-WWE guy that when he first came in, I was like, okay, yeah, let's see what happens, to now, like, he's one of the ones I look forward to seeing every Wednesday or Saturday night. So, I would love to see an MJF Swerve Strickland feud. Would love it.
His manager as well, I think he's class. When he comes out doing that dance, that's great.
Yeah.
He got his own little back and dances.
Yeah.
It was just everything about it. It was a great match. And I think, again, I mean, it's just more of that ascension for him. Like, I feel like MJF will probably be busy with Samoa Joe for a few weeks, and then I think it's Swerve's turn, and I think that he could be the next AEW champion, to be honest, if I was putting money on it.
I do
let's move.
I was going to say, I do have issues with the way you win the match. I know it's first one to your feet, but I think you should be on your feet for longer than half a second. It just doesn't make sense. There should be a time that you've got to stay on your feet, because didn't really get to his feet, did he? He got up and fucking fell back down. And I think he got up with help as well. Yeah, that was me.
We've seen that in Last Man Standing match as well, haven't we?
Yeah, it just pisses us off. I think not as much as Kev with 2 rings, but gets on my nerves a bit.
But how good would that match have been with 2 rings?
Oh, amazing!
5-star.
Twice the fun.
5-star. 7 stars. So we'll move on to the open now. I know I'm kind of jumping around the. Well, what?
It's just on the in the square match, there was one spot. It was an accidental thing when Hangman was on the ropes and
Yeah.
he was at the hit him with the
chair
chair with the barbed wire, and the barbed wire went over
Mhm.
Hangman's face, and everyone's like, "Oh, caught him!" And then they showed the replay, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like it caught him right in the face, and I was like, "That could have been an eye," and I was like, "Nah." But Swerve was so good in that match that he's close to being a babyface after something like that. That kind of good, and I was like, slow down a bit, like let him do something really nasty next week, so we can go back to booing him again because we need a heel champion, and because that was borderline babyface stuff. That
I just need to stop betting against him. Twice now.
If they'd wanted to, like I know that wasn't on the cards at all, but I feel like with that match, if they wanted to, they could have done a double 10 quite easily. But yeah, let's talk about the opener. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but it's all good. So we'll start with Sting, Darby, and Adam Copeland, that christened the Stingers last week, against Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne, the Cagey Luchasaurs. Or the Patriarchy, as I believe they were, because that definitely came up on the Tron, and we were talking about that last week. I mean, in terms of an opener, I mean, what did you think, Kev? I know you said you'd seen highlights. Did you catch any of this one?
Was that the opener with Stingers and
Yeah.
I saw it. I thought it was really good. I mean, I predicted that Sting's team would win because I thought Christian could take a loss. Because it would keep his momentum going as like this like really bitter heel. So, but I enjoy obviously the bits where Ric Flair was attacking Christian was a bit fucking hell.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question? Like, does anybody know why Ric Flair's even there? Like, I think apart from Sting, he had nothing to do with the fucking match.
I
So
thought
that's the storyline reason, yeah.
Oh, did you see what Christian?
Did you see what Christian?
Did you see what Christian posted though? That he looked like the Crypt Keeper. I thought that was fucking hilarious.
I think he said it on Collision as well, or Rampage, one of the two. Oh man, I mean, David, I don't know, was this one of your tactical votes?
I think it was, yes, and it didn't work.
No, it did not.
But to be honest, I was surprised that it was Luchasaurus that got pinned. I would have thought they would have pinned Nick Wayne.
Yeah,
I thought it would have been Nick.
And as I was watching it, I thought to myself, the size of Nick Wayne and Darby Allin, they're about the same size as each other. They should have like a flyweight sort of. I know it's probably less than what they are. Oh, I'm not sure how much they are weight, but a flyweight sort of division for them, because there's plenty of them in AEW. So
I think it's like I in the most respectful way possible, I do not want to see another Ric Flair match. However, if it was Ric Flair versus Nick Wayne, I would be all over that for some reason. There was just that moment when he was like mocking him, and I thought, you know what, like I'd watch that. That would be fun, because it would just be Flair like knocking him around with his chops for 2 minutes and then putting him in a figure four. Like that would be hilarious. But yeah, I don't know. I do get a little bit nervous the more that we kind of see, because again, it's Flair's legacy, isn't it? I just don't want him to crush it any more than he has, and I think that the more appearances he makes, the more difficult that becomes. I mean, what did you think, Peter? We've talked a little bit about Ric Flair's interaction with Christian Cage.
As far as it was what it was. It didn't, for me, didn't detract from the match itself. I thought it was good. The fact that Christian didn't want anything to do with with Adam Copeland whatsoever was a nice touch, which means when they do eventually get it on, it's going to mean a little bit more. I love the entrance. Both entrances, actually. The Christians and their guys' entrance, pure shithousery. Loved it. I'm here for it all day. And then the Sting and Adams and Darby's entrance was good with the baseball bats, and then the music. It'd be nice if they could have got, instead of using Adams' music, maybe use a version of like more energetic, one of Sting's energetic music, not necessarily. God, I'm going not necessarily Metallica again, but maybe a riff of these WCW early themes of the Surfer one, but that entrance to come out with the face paint, thought was really good. It looked cool. They all looked like stars. Darby Allin just stood out again. That bump on the apron from was it the chokes on the outside? Or we took that bump on the apron looked gnarly. But if you watched how he takes that bump, he was as safe as houses. That kid knows how to fall and not hurt himself. You watch it, he didn't look, it wasn't dangerous. He landed. It looked minging, but I love the match. Good old fashioned Sting party match, a lot of fun. Right result, moves things forward, and Darby gets to shine again, which I think is just as important.
Yeah. It's funny, so you can add Darby Allin to the list of wrestlers that my wife hates. So but Edge is her all-time favorite, and she does like Sting. And I mean, let's take a moment. I thought that Adam Copeland looked awesome with the face paint on, to the point where if that had been a few years ago, I would have had no issue with Sting and Edge being a tag team. I thought it was that good. So they came down, and then she was saying to us Darby needs to get over himself, So, not a Darby Allin fan, let's say. But no, yeah, I enjoyed the match. I thought it was really good. And I think, like you, Peter, I loved the interactions between Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, because I do, but I don't want to see them go at it yet. It was so well done that when it finally happens, it'll mean so much more. When they finally look up, it's going to be awesome. I think another match which took me by surprise was the ladder match for the tag team titles. I don't know, had they announced it as a ladder match when we were talking about it, or was that afterwards?
That was on Collision.
So I think the moment that was announced, I was like, okay, this is going to be cool. And I think most of us went for Ricky Starks and Big Bill, with the exception of Peter, who, to be fair, I would love to have seen Kings of the Black Throne walk off with it. I think it would have been absolutely awesome, but it wasn't their night. What do people think of the tag team title match?
I've not seen that one, so I'll sit this one out because I haven't actually seen it.
I thought it was a really good match. See, what I like with AEW is the fact that they go fucking balls to the wall with these no DQ matches, cage matches, ladder matches. Brody King, sorry. That spot he done on the ladder, where the ladder bent, and then they rushed for some reason to stack the ladder back up again. I didn't understand that bit. But yeah, the spots in those sort of matches in AEW I really like. They do those sort of matches a lot better than WWE.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt like there was more just little things and it's so for me, Ricky Starks I kind of go back and forth on sometimes. I don't dislike the guy by any stretch, but there'll be some weeks where I can take him or leave him. There'll be other weeks where he really impresses us, and obviously he wasn't really part of the match at the start, and then there was just a point where he came in and just did this amazing sequence where he was just beating the shit out of people with these awesome moves. And it was one of those times where I was like, so that's what they say in Ricky Starks. That's why they're building him up so much. So, I mean, in that sense, it's nice to see their title reign go on for a little bit longer. Again, my heart would always be with kind of the House of Black, Kings of the Black Throne, because, they're one of probably my favorite stable in AEW. I mean, was there any? I know, obviously, we all predicted kind of Ricky and Big Bill. Do you think there was any consideration? Was there any point where we felt like FTR example we're going to take it?
No, they never looked like winning that one.
Nah.
I think if there was another winner, it would have been the House of Black. Obviously, for what happened later on in the night with the number one contendership match.
Yeah, and I mean that would be a hell of a match, wouldn't it? To be fair, I think that would be awesome. But I think what happened immediately after that was probably one of my highlights of the night. I was actually really pleasantly surprised by the match, really pleased by the result. Chris Statlander, Julia Hart. So it was actually Red Velvet and Sky Blue actually had the opportunity to qualify for the match. So I don't know if I misunderstood or the booking was changed, but it ended up being Chris Statlander, Julia Hart, and Sky Blue. For the TBS title, and Julia Hart walked away with it. I actually thought there was some moments really hard hitting match. They all really worked their asses off. You can see that improvement that Julia Hart's done, and what I like about her is that she she really kind of embraces her character, which is really, really cool. Again, most of us just we're in a great. I don't think this was a tactical pick for you, was it, David? I think you're a big Chris Statlander fan.
I wouldn't say I'm a Chris Statlander fan, but I just thought she was better than the other two.
Fair. Did you feel that on the night, or do you feel that it was a deserved win for Julia?
I think Julia deserved it at the end, but Statlander did some deadlift German suplexes, and I was just like, wow, God. There's blokes who'll not throw people about like that. That's
yeah. I just feel like they all kind of took the bumps and stuff. I think I'm not sure how I feel about this whole Sky Blue kind of gimmick thing. Like they made a big fuss of her like taking a cap off and putting a crown on, and I was like, okay,
yeah, I didn't get that.
Like she didn't make it feel like a big deal, so I didn't feel like it was a big deal. But Excalibur certainly felt like it was, so that's fine.
She needs to either turn heel or fuck off. I'm sick of waiting. I'm sick of waiting for it. But you know, with the fucking eye makeup, and I would turn heel or don't.
I don't know. Like I don't really know where it's going. I guess that's the thing. But I think it was cool to see Julia Hart win it because I think obviously Jade Cargill went on this like that really really long run that ran out of steam towards the end a little bit. But overall, it was an impressive run. And I think that Chris Statlander, she had some really solid defenses, but nothing she could really get her teeth into, I didn't think. So I feel like at least they're giving Julia Hart a storyline. So maybe there'll be a bit more around the TBS title scene and stuff to come. And you know what I mean? There's some pretty, as well as Sky Blue, I feel like there's some cool people who could kind of get involved in that as well. And I mean, she's only, 21? Is she Julia Hart? She's only 21 or something. Is that right?
Youngest AEW champion ever.
Like that's insane. Like if you think like Paige was like 18, but that was NXT. Do you know what I mean? Like I think she maybe was younger when she won the Divas title, but like she'd had this like she'd done the Indies for years. Whereas I'm not sure what Julia Hart's background is, to be honest. So it's really impressive to see how she's come on in such a short space of time. So yeah, and again, big House of Black fan, so I'm all for it. I think it's awesome. So we'll see what happens, but. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Sky Blue, Robbie. We'll see how she's doing. Obviously, we're talking about Swerve, which is awesome. Golden Jets versus the Young. Now, I feel like they were kind of in the death spot, and I don't know if that was like intentional. Obviously, I think there's just been the Texas Death Match. What we thought was going to be Adam Cole and Jay White. We'll talk about that shortly. Was up. And then he was kind of Jericho and Omega against the Young Bucks. I think it was your typical elite match. Do you know what I mean? I think there was nothing really that surprised me from it. Jericho, I felt, held his own and kind of kept up, which was good. I think the more amusing bit for me was kind of the Young Bucks kicking off when they'd lost and kind of tearing the arena apart. But it's just a match that didn't grab us as much as the others, despite the people that were in it. However, I'll always enjoy Kenny Omega's like snap suplexes because they're a joy to behold. I mean, what did you think of this one, Peter? Like, did you get that? I came away from it a bit cold, to be honest.
Yeah, I went into it cold and came away from it cold. There's the Bucks can't believe how cold they are, to be fair, and I don't dislike the Bucks. I do actually quite like them. I do see some of the hype, but they've just been ice cold for a while now. And I think it is a case of just a bit of a break. You can't miss you unless you go away type of thing. So in the game, the match just was what it was. Kenny was outstanding as always. Jericho kept it quite well. But again, just cold, just death spot. Crowd weren't even into the Bucks really, to be fair. Considering the hometown boys, and I think that's pretty damning for the hometown kids as well. But I think those guys just need a break to refresh and come back reinvigorated, I think.
And I think, and obviously, this sounds like just by the way it's happened. I think it's more of like more of a work or a storyline. But Brandon Cutler had tweeted saying that they were taking a bit of a break. So who knows how long that's going to be. But I feel like when they come back, obviously they've been teasing this heel turn for a while, and it looks like that they're going in that direction. I mean, they're very much they're a Marmite team, aren't they? Like some people love the Young Bucks, some people absolutely loathe them, even fans. I mean, what are your thoughts on the Bucks, Kev? Like, do you think they'd be better as heels when they come back?
Yeah, I mean, give them a heel run. I think it'd be a mistake to split them up because they've been together so long. It's you don't want to go down a WWE route of splitting up every fucking tag team ever. I think because there's no Marty Jannetty in the Young Bucks. I don't think they're both really good
They're
together.
both Marty Jannetty.
They're both Marty
Yeah.
Jannetty.
Like you can't imagine him putting his brother through a barbershop window or something. But yeah,
I
with
don't know if
that
there'd be an
match-
appetite for that. Yeah.
No, because I think it's when they like gone back to WCW when the Steiner brothers turned on each other. I just weren't feeling it. It's not the same when brothers like the actual brothers when they turn on each other. It's just not the same to split them up. But I think a heel one would be really good. It might reinvent them as well because I think they're gone a bit still. Big Papa Pump.
Big Papa
What
Pump.
you?
Oh, he's lost his shades. I'll get them later.
What have you got an action figure of Robbie for?
You know what it is? As soon as I saw the picture, I was like, "That's fucking Scott Steiner." I think it was
There
the
you go.
eyes.
You reminded me of something that I wanted to quickly drop in. I'll do that after we've done Full Gear, but you reminded me of something there. But yeah, I mean, what were you going to say?
No, that it was definitely a piss break match. That one, though.
Mm.
Like when everyone goes for a piss or has a drink, like during the like pay-per-view, definitely.
Which I think is a crazy thing to say. Like if you when AEW had started, if someone had said to you, "Oh, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks will have a match," and it'll probably be a low point on the event, not a bad match by any stretch. I think we said at the start there was nothing bad here. It was just a bit cold. Like I think you probably would have been like, "Shut up! No, that's not going to happen." But here we are, and perhaps that just shows you what a good job they've done of building people like Swerve Strickland, MJF. Do you know what I mean? Who were in matches that were a bit hotter. So yeah. I mean, like I say, I'm interested to see if the Bucks turn heel, but that's about it. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel that they could do with that to be reinvigorated a little bit, but I guess we'll see how things go.
I feel like that tantrum they had at the end was a window into what happened after that media scrum with CM Punk. As soon as I saw him kicking out, that was the first thing I thought. That's what fucking happened, and I can imagine the Bucks doing that. Pricks.
So let's move on to I think a bit of a dark horse. I think, like, obviously the main event at All Out was phenomenal, but I think with what a stacked card this one maybe was a bit of a dark horse. Orange Cassidy and John Moxley for the international title. And I feel like they've really hot potatoed the international title lately. And a lot of it, obviously they called it audible with Moxley and Phoenix. Like, a lot of it's been kind of unfortunate. But I felt it was really important that they kept the title on Orange. And they did. Good match. Not as good as the main event that they had it All Out, but still pretty good. What did you make of it? Robbie, what did you make of the match?
Good match. Better than what I thought it was going to be. I just thought it was going to be in a quick 5-10 minute match, put the title back on Moxley because he didn't get to finish his title run properly. And that was a good solid match. I'm not disappointed that Cassidy's not the champion because he was a good champion when he on the first time round. But just how long are they going to keep it on him this time?
Yeah. I think they did a really good job of, like, so for me, they were really hot potato in the TNT title. Obviously, Christian Cage has kind of steadied that ship, I think. Like, I think he's and bringing some prestige back to it. But I think it got to the point where that international title, which was a bit of a joke when it started, all of a sudden was kind of the secondary title in AEW. But again, maybe hampered a little bit by the back and forth. So hopefully you can have, I don't think it'll be as long as the first time, but a decent little reign would be good. And then, see who can take it from him next. There's a few people I think might be good candidates to beat him for it, but I feel like it'll be a big big deal when they do. I mean, were you surprised in that sense? Because obviously you were the only one to go with Moxley. Were you surprised when Orange won it?
Yeah, I genuinely thought Moxley was going to come out with the title. But like I said, I mean, either person I wanted to be disappointed. I just wanted Moxley to win for the points.
Yeah. So we'll move on. So we all got these two right. So like I say, I think these were probably the foregone conclusions, really. Hikaru Shida versus Timeless Tony Storm. You want to talk about a title that's been hot potatoed, like, and I feel they've always protected the women's title quite well. You know what I mean? Like big long reigns from like Britt Baker and title reign and this, that, and the other. I'd say like within like since like July, August time, we've had Tony Storm, Hikaru Shida, Saraya, Hikaru Shida again, and then Tony Storm, Timeless Tony Storm. Yeah. So, you know, we'll ignore my bitterness that Saraya had this really short title reign. Like, I was getting behind a Hikaru Shida title reign. Like, but I did think that Tony Storm was going to win it. I guess I'm just a bit like, for me, I feel like now they need like a long title reign, similar to what Orange Cassidy's done, similar to what MJF's done, to bring some prestige back to that title. Do we think that Tony Storm is the one to put that belt on? I mean, people like the gimmick. Like you, Robbie, I've got a few question marks over it. I don't hate it by any means, but there's a couple of times where I feel like it jumps the shark. I mean, what do you think, David? Like, do you like the Timeless Tony Storm gimmick, and do you think she's the right person to kind of bring some to the title?
She's playing the role well. But when it comes to putting that. But when it comes to putting it into a wrestling match, I think it just goes a bit stupid. Like putting the steel thing down the back of her pants. That fell out twice, and she had to rearrange it. It was just a bit embarrassing for her, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But if they keep the title on her, then I don't see why not. But
I think for me, like, it's a clever gimmick, and I get like it's amusing, but I feel like, so for example, I think it gets me when they lean too much into it. So like when they were doing like little silent movies during the picture-in-picture on Fight and this sort of thing, that's where it loses me a bit. And again, it's about how do you incorporate it into the match. What I do like, which I think is really funny, is where she's got a script and she'll give it to someone to be like, this is the script for the match. Like that, I think's a riot. But then I think, I don't know. Like I go back and forth on it, and like I've always liked Tony Storm as a wrestler. I don't know. Like I would like to have seen Hikaru Shida have a longer title reign, if I'm honest. But I did think that Tony was going to come away with it. I feel like obviously Shida's a 3-time women's champion now, and I think all of them have very much been like a transitional reign. Like one of them was during the COVID era, bless her. The second one almost felt like a thank you for being the champion in the COVID era, and then this felt very much like a transitional reign between Saraya and Tony, who I think probably it might have made more sense to have Tony beat Saraya for it because of kind of all the story they had in the first place. So it just all feels a little bit of a mess to me. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on it, Kev? Like, am I looking too much into this, or does it just feel a bit of a mess?
I don't know, like with the Tony Storm thing, it does feel like it just idea. The Timeless Tony Storm thing.
It's very sports entertainment, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, with the champion side, I mean, was an amazing wrestler. She can go against Rhea Ripley and make it, and it's believable, which not many wrestlers now can do that. But she has got the goods to do it, and I enjoy watching as well. She might stab me for saying that. So yeah, but yeah, I think it depends how far they go on with this character, whether they soften it. Are just like unbearable, like, so she's like, oh, for fuck's sake, get that title off her, and someone will come in and like defeat her, like she becomes a pro. So I think that's what they're trying to do, make her so she's absolutely like unbearable. And you think, for fuck's sake, someone come and take that title off her. And
but Yeah, but I almost feel at the same time, like I almost feel like the fans are cheering and like she's almost a face at this point because people like I think people really are in like I think me and Robbie might be in the minority in terms of our frustrations with the gimmick. Like I think that she's actually like really over with it, which is great because again, there's no doubt she's a phenomenal wrestler and this, that, and the other. I also think like thinking ahead, I would have it for a few months and I would have a lose it to Jamie Hayter when she comes back. Like I think that's how I would book it, and then do a Britt Baker Jamie Hayter feud. So you could book it out for like a few months. I think it would be awesome. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we go with it. But I think obviously we were all right, and we were all pretty confident that she was going to win. Another one that we were confident was going to win, but it took us a hell of a journey to get there. Was MGF versus Jay White for the AEW Championship. Now, I was always looking forward to the match. I thought the whole Jay White just having his belt and not being made to give it back was like a bit strange, but we'll put that to one side because that was the story and it got us here. Now, for anyone, I'm just going to recap for anyone who maybe missed the pay-per-view or didn't quite understand what was going on. So MJF defended the Ring of Honor tag team titles with Samoa Joe on the pre-show against the Guns. After that, the Bullet Club Gold beat the crap out of him, knocked his leg in, off he goes to the hospital. Adam Cole's there with his kind of I'm injured beard that he's growing out, he certainly looks injured. But I'm quite amused by that though, because it's like sometimes like was it Mick Foley had said like when wrestlers come back from injury and they look amazing. And he was like, well, when I come back, I want to look like shit because I've just been injured. Like, so it amused us that Adam Cole looked like really like unkempt and all of this. Anyway, obviously still recovering from his injury. It then gets announced during the show that Adam Cole is going to kind of stand in as proxy for MJF. So it's now Adam Cole versus Jay White for MJF's AEW Championship. All feels very Attitude Era at this point, but I don't think that anything like that's even happened in the Attitude Era. Then at the start of the match, we did get a very Attitude Era moment of MJF turning up in the ambulance, and then the match begins, and Adam Cole's at ringside. All very confused. Obviously, thankfully, MJF kind of won the day, and it was. Yeah, I mean, even just that alone, me kind of going through that, like, hurt my head a bit. Robbie, what were your thoughts on this? Because I get the impression that you're the same as me. Like, this just, I don't understand what on earth this was meant to achieve.
Yeah, that was my issue. That's what I was talking about before we come on. It's like you say, MJF got injured, took the hospital, can't compete, comes back in the ambulance. You've got all the security, all the back staff keeping him back. No, you can't wrestle. But earlier in the night, Tony Khan said, "Oh yeah, but Adam Cole can."
Yeah.
He's on fucking crutches and a boot, but yeah.
In a worse state than MJF.
Yeah. Adam Cole can wrestle, but no, not fucking MJF.
Mm-hmm.
It lost us. It just made no sense at all.
There was also a really funny bit in the match where like he was particularly struggling. And to be fair, like I think for the most part, he did a really good job of like selling this injury that he had. And there was a point where like they called the doctor over, and the doctor's like checking him over, and he just gives him the finger and go, well, that's right. So like I enjoyed that. And again, I just feel like they could have achieved the same with them like saying like if he's not at the end of the night, he vacates the title to Jay White, and then do that bit they did at the top of the show in the ring. Even Adam Cole could come out there and be like, well, I'm gonna, he involved, but it's the whole Tony Khan made no sense to me. And to be fair, actually, I was so confused because, like, obviously, for anyone who watches this kind of internationally, like, I woke up like in the middle of the night as Full Gear's thinking, because I was half asleep, checked my Facebook while I went to the toilet and saw that it said Adam Cole versus Jay White for the AEW title, and thought, like, am I still asleep? Like, what's going on? And like, I'm so confused. So then obviously I thought, right, well, I just need to put this to one side. I'll deal with this in the morning. So then when I watched the event, I was like, what is going on? And I don't think it took away from the final match that we got, but it was just getting there was a bit of a slog. I mean, what were your thoughts, Peter? Like, are we being a bit harsh on this, or was this just like really strange?
Someone calls a dirty lie and his foot ankle's not really broke.
Well, yes.
Oh, it's
yes.
my mic on.
And his
But,
beard's the
you
same
know,
colour as the devil mask.
It was the idea of before Cole got injured, this is how this was going to play out. That they're going to tag together, defend that. MJF goes off. Goes, I'll defend it on his behalf if he's not. Doesn't mean you will let someone compete with a broken ankle, then surface a gammy leg. That bit doesn't make sense. That was the only issue with it. Just that bit. Coming in back in the ambulance, the rest of the match, I love. Really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Back to the out. What that was. Loved the match.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone said it was overbooked nonsense. I was like, I've seen worse. Why people were getting up in arms about it, I really...
Oh, definitely.
That basic logic floor of going, why are you letting... The rest of it, not a problem with it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the match, the match itself was great. I think Jay White as well, was awesome. I just thought it was all great, and I think I love MJF. I think he's absolutely awesome. And then I liked how Adam Cole played into the main event. It was just how we got there. But overall, I think we can agree the match was great. And that's officially a year now of MJF as our AEW champion, which I think you can't fault. I think he's had a hell of a year, telling a hell of a long-term story as well. I'm really interested to see where it goes. See if we find out that Adam Cole is a dirty liar and just how much. I think that the final bit in terms of Wrestle Profit was, would we learn the identity of the Masked Devil? And we didn't. So that's still ongoing. That's still to play for. So let's have a look and we'll see where we're at. So for Full Gear itself, so I scored the full 18. Kev just missed out on 1 point. He scored 17. Peter 14, Robbie 10, and David 9. For anyone who's kind of new, the way it works is a match correctly predicted is 1 point. If it's a title match, you get 2. And if you predict the 5-pointer correctly, obviously you get 5 points. So there was 18 to play for. And that leaves us with our running total. This is where we're at. So we've got David on 41. We've got Peter on 47. Robbie on 48. Kev on 51. And myself on 53. So I've gone from last 2 events. So yeah, and as I've said, there is genuinely a prize for this. So when we get to WrestleMania is going to be kind of the end of this kind of first run of it, and there will be a prize at the end. And it's as I've said, I've teased it a couple of times. It's fitting for a champion. So just kind of wait and see. It's fantastic. Do we want to go through Survivor Series first, or would you like to hear where Roman Reigns is?
We need to know where Roman.
Yeah, it's find out where Roman is.
I know where he's
Let's
not.
find out where Roman is. Let's do it. So, obviously, sometimes we know, again, for anyone new to this, sometimes we know where he is because he's a bit, there's times he appears on SmackDown every now and again. He'll appear on the occasional pay-per-view and defend the title. But a lot of the time, we don't know where Roman Reigns is. And, as our champion for over 1,000 days in WWE, that's a little bit disconcerting. So I have sources out there, and they help me each week to determine where is Roman Reigns. So you'll be surprised to learn that Roman Reigns is in fact overseas this week, and maybe for a week or two, and that'll become clear as we go on. The fact is that Roman Reigns has flown, at least for us, to the other side of the world. He's actually flown to Australia. So I don't know if anyone can see this, but he's in the UK. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here is due to start, and Roman Reigns is going to be in the cast for I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. So can we see the cast picture there? Are we all able to see it?
Yeah.
Finally a celebrity.
Yeah. Yeah,
Skipped leg day,
he's won
hasn't
the
he?
game. I'm a celebrity doing a. Well, what?
He skipped leg day for a little
What do you
while.
say, Kev?
The gym
He
as
has,
well.
but
Skip
this
leg day.
is what happens. This is what happens when you only defend the title sporadically. You see, he's in the jungle. He's probably not eating much, so he's lost a bit of definition. But before he went into the jungle, because obviously they go out a few days earlier. I haven't watched the show for a few years. I might watch it now. Roman's on, but they go out a few days earlier. So he thought he would go out and see the sights. So he has been to the zoo. A lovely little lion there, just wanting to see if he was the head of the table, or the lion was. He also, and I don't know if anyone knows this actually, but Roman Reigns is a huge Steve Irwin fan. Now I don't know if anyone. I am as well. Rest in peace, Steve Irwin. It's been about 16, 17 years since Steve Irwin passed. And I think Roman's already thinking about what he's going to do after WWE. So he got in to wrestle some crocodiles and to give it a go and see how he felt about it. So that's what he's been up to in Australia. Who was that? So that's what he's been up to in Australia. I will keep tabs for you, continue to, because as long as Roman Reigns isn't on our TV, isn't on SmackDown, isn't on pay-per-view, or PLE, he's got to be somewhere. So, if you know where Roman Reigns is, if if any of your sources get a photograph or anything like that, send it to marksidepod@gmail.com, and I'll continue to share that, But I mean, what are people's thoughts on that? Australia, I mean, respect to him if he's going to go and have a celebrity and or two,
Well, is he going to hang out there until Elimination Chamber?
Probably.
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? What's the point? What's the point in flying back? I mean, I guess it depends if he wants to be at the Rumble or not. One place we know he's not going to be is Survivor Series, which, I mean, before we kind of jump back into Wrestle Profit, how do we feel about that? I mean, Survivor Series is one of the. I always think Big Four, but I think people add Money in the Bank now, like Big Five. Like, how do people feel about the fact that Roman, is going to be wrestling crocodiles instead of appearing this year?
Well, I'm all right with it.
I'd rather. So.
Nah,
I don't know.
He's
the
top champion. He should be at one of the big pay-per-views. I mean, to me now, Seth Rollins overtook Roman Reigns on top champion WWE, in my opinion. I know that title was probably made as a consolidation because they weren't taking it off Reigns. But to me now, I think that's a bigger title than the Universal title.
Fair. And I think a lot of that opinion will probably be about Seth's title reign because it has been pretty awesome. A lot of the time I've been predicting people will take it off him. So he's kind of kept trucking with it. And unless Damian Priest decides to cash in the Money in the Bank, he'll probably walk out of Survivor Series with that title. So, let's get into Survivor Series. Now, one thing I will say is obviously we've still got, as we're talking, we've still got Raw, NXT, and SmackDown before the event. So, likely may add another match or two. If they do what we tend to do for anyone watching, they just kind of message each other privately and get those predictions. But we've got 5 to go through, So let's see where we go with those. We'll start with probably the most recently announced match, which I think has the potential to. Really pleased to see the return of Carlito. And I did feel for a little bit, I was like, well, he's back, but he's not doing it. And what's going on? And then they've kind of weaved him into this LWO storyline quite nicely. Carlito versus Santos Escobar will be at Survivor Series this weekend. Let's start with David. Walking away with this one.
Escobar, straight away.
Yeah.
And I would imagine either one or two of the tag team. I'm not sure their names. Of the LWO, I think they'll turn heel on Carlito, and Escobar getting the win.
I feel like I agree with you because I feel like he's just fresh off this turn. I was mocking him for just like leaving the brass knuckles on the ring apron, but then to be fair, that was obviously by design rather than just like a really awkward camera angle. And I feel like that, obviously Mysterio's out with with an injury. rehabbing that for a few weeks, and then they can kickstart this feud probably in the new year, which I think will be awesome. Could potentially lead to a pretty good WrestleMania match as well if they build it right. But I think the first step of that is that he needs to beat Carlito, as much as I love him. So I'm going to go with Santos Escobar on this one. How about you, Robbie?
Yeah, Escobar. I think I shared some on the news page. They're looking at Los Lotharios to join with Escobar. Now, when I read that, I mean, I've played the new WWE game, and there is actually a storyline in that where Escobar joins up with the Los Lotharios throughout the game, and I was thinking, are they just copying the fucking games now, or the game's telling us what's going to be happening?
Triple H is like, what are we going to do, lads?
But seriously, yeah, Escobar has to win, or else this heel turn makes no sense. I mean, he was stupid enough.
It kind of kills it for it starts.
Yeah, I mean, he was stupid enough to get the LWO tattoo on his hand after being in it for not even a year. But it'd be interesting where Zelina Vega goes. Does she side with Rey or does she side with Escobar? I think that would be the storyline that runs beside it. Who's she gonna go with? Will she then eventually turn on Rey? Because she come up with Escobar.
Who's always a heel?
And I think that,
so I can see her being a heel again.
It'll be an interesting ride. What do you think, Kev? Do you think that, like, do you agree with us? Do you think he needs this win to kind of solidify that heel turn and build to the feud with Rey Mysterio?
Yeah, I think as well, Carlito will just put him up. I think he's put him on and make him like it's gonna be Escobar all the way. And I think I agree with Robbie as well. I think Lena Vega. I think that's going to be the main storyline in the will she Rey or Escobar. So yeah, but I'm going to win that one.
Yeah. And Peter, how about yourself?
On this one, it would make sense for him to lose, right? Yeah, Santos.
Yeah,
and that's not WWE right now.
Yeah. So let's go for one of our two title matches that are on the card. Versus Zoe Stark. Obviously, Zoe clearly impressed in Saudi for them to kind of go for a one-on-one match. But obviously Rhea's absolutely on a tear at the moment. I think we've said for a while, and I still stand by it, I don't see them taking the title off her before Elimination Chamber, unless they were going to kind of crown her as a women's champion again. But that wouldn't necessarily make sense in the story they're telling. So I think for me, I think it is Rhea with another hard-fought win. Do you think Rhea Ripley's defending the title?
Yeah, I think she's going to win.
Yeah.
Not a fan of Zoe Stark, really. She's just, to me, she's got no charisma. Compared to Rhea Ripley, it makes no sense, really. But I think they're going to keep it. I think they'll keep it on Rhea till WrestleMania. I think that's the earliest she'll lose that title.
Yeah. And I think that's what's cool. Like in AEW and WWE, we're starting to see like longer title reigns again, which I really, really like. Like I think, like if you think about like the Attitude Era in WCW 2000, like the title was just like they were passed around like crisps. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now, like it means something, which is why it almost seems all the more jarring when you see something like the women's title or the international title in AEW kind of bouncing around in the way they have. But yeah, no, I totally agree. I think Rhea's going to walk out with it. What do you think, Peter?
Yep, Rhea. In the women's division, I don't see her losing it any.
And how about you, Kev?
Yeah, Rhea Ripley as well. A minute, with like what one beating. I wouldn't go against her because she would come and help me if she found out. which if my wife's watching,
That
I
was
She's
wouldn't
mint.
enjoy. I
She's
promise.
absolutely mint.
Yeah, I wouldn't enjoy it if my wife's watching.
No, you wouldn't. Especially if it was in the 2 rings as well. Actually, that sounded much ruder than it was. I do apologize. Right.
2 wrestling rings.
Yes, 2 wrestling rings. How about you, David? Is it another full sweep for Rhea?
Yeah, Rhea again. Yeah, I think the only reason that they would take the title off her at the minute would be so she could win it back in Perth. But
Yeah.
I can't see anybody who can take the title off her.
Nah, not without it looking shit. So,
Yeah.
our other title match, and I've got a feeling we might be going in a similar direction again, would be Gunther versus The Miz. I don't see The Miz beating Gunther for the Intercontinental title. Like, I like The Miz. I'm actually a huge advocate for The Miz. I think he's grossly underappreciated for what he does and has done. But The Miz isn't the guy who's ending that title reign, in my opinion. I mean, what do you think? What do you think, Kev?
I just can't see him. I just can't see him in my head. Go crushing finale on Gunther and getting the 1, 2, 3. It's not happening. I mean, Gunther will just chop him until he until next week.
Yeah, yeah.
The Miz would have definitely made a really good Johnny Cage.
Yeah, he would have done
So
that.
that's my.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking
I
that he
think
never was, really.
He's gonna it'll be I can't see it being a squash match because of with the Miz being so like a veteran, but I don't think it'll be too hard for Gunther to win.
I think when you think about great Intercontinental champions, like Miz has held it like more than most. Like, it's a big win for Gunther. It's kind of like another roadblock to go through. So it makes whoever beats him, be it Chad Gable, be it whoever, like, it's gonna mean more. So I think it's a good match to have, but I feel it's an easy one to predict. Peter.
Yeah, it's good. Of a lifetime, and it's going to be great to watch. Just beat the absolute living.
And what do you reckon, Robbie? Are you joining us in the Gunter Club?
Yeah. I know he's close to breaking the combined title reign record. I think that would be really good if he does it in one reign. The Miz, yes, they've turned him babyface, but he's still using heel tactics, which is what I think he's going to do in this match. He's going to go for the feet on the rope. He's going to go for the low blows, but ultimately, I've Gunther's going to win it.
And is that another full sweep, David? Are we going Gunther?
Yeah, Gunther, because
I wondered if you'd be tactical, but I didn't think it was a good time to be tactical.
No. I cannot see anybody beating Gunther, to be honest, that they've got at the minute, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's it. I think it would need to be a really good story that they're building up and getting, really building up an opponent for him. I'd heard it might be Brock Lesnar, and as much as I'd love to see a match between the two of them, I really hope it's not Brock that ends it. I'd like to see that afterwards, or non-title. I think would be loads better.
I was thinking about this the other day, just with the way Braun Breaker's going on at NXT. To me, that's believable. Someone Braun Breaker, because I think as soon as he comes on the roster, he's going to get a push, massive push, like he did in NXT.
Yeah, that would be a good shout. To be fair, I know. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've got a lot of time for a Steiner, so it's all good. Now, this is where I think opinions might start to split a little bit. I feel the undercard's pretty foregone unless they throw us a curveball. but I feel this is where we'll start to kind of split off a little bit. So we'll start with the women's match. So of course we've got to kind of clarify it for everyone. It's Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Shotzi, and Becky Lynch. So Bayley, Asuka, Io Sky, and Kairi Sane in a
WarGames!
So you're going to be sick of that. I love it. So let's start with Peter. Who do you think's
WarGames?
I didn't press it that time. It's like it knew I was going to.
Now the women's WarGames match with the win.
Will be Damage Control. The more of a cohesive, and the kayfabe said, it's more of a cohesive team as well. And not newly formed, but newly re-identified. They need that win to solidify them.
Okay. David, who do you think's going out of WarGames, the women's WarGames match with the win?
I think it's a tough one. It's because Damage Control, you've got Bayley's going to be the one that could be the weakest link and end up getting pinned and breaking up Damage Control, or you've got Shotzi on the other side. But I love Bayley, so I'm going to go with Damage Control.
So I'm going to give you my pick now before we move on, because this is, and I'm taking a bit of a risk here, and I think this is what I would like to see happen. As I like Bayley also, so like this isn't a dig at her, but I feel you've got in there. Obviously, there'll be lots of kind of miscommunication potentially between Becky and all of this kind of stuff going on. Damage Control looking, really cohesive, really strong unit, and then I think I think towards the end of the match, I think there's going to be an instance where you've got Asuka, Io, and Kairi, Bayley at that point, and I think that means that they're then going to cost Bayley the match, and it's going to be Bianca Belair and Co. So that's what I think. What I'd like to happen, and that's what I think is going to happen. And I think obviously that turns Bayley face, and that kind of gives us a storyline for the next few months. Dakota Kai, obviously, still injured, but would get involved in that storyline at some point. So I'm just gonna put Bianca Belair and Co. because I'm not writing all the names down because So I'm going to take a bit of a punt there and just try for something different because I feel the rest of the card's a bit predictable and and I think where it's going. What do you think, Robbie?
Damage Control, and then bye Bayley.
Damage Control. Yeah.
I think
Kev?
Bayley.
Sorry, go for it.
I was just gonna say I think Bayley would take the pin, and then they'll turf her out.
So we'll get to the same place, but
yeah, I think she's going to turn. I think she's going to turn baby face. I think it's yes. I'll go. I'm going to go for Tampa. I think Bayley is due for a baby face turn, but I've control that within the night.
Okay. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that one. But now we've got the men's WarGames match, which I think, again, is going to be a really interesting one. Obviously, there was a lot of drama in the one last year with the Bloodline. This year, we've got Cody, Seth freaking Rollins, Jey Uso, and Sami Zayn. Although, to be fair, it looks like there's going to be some additional personnel here against the Judgment Day of Damien Priest, Finn Balor, Dirty Dom, and JD McDonough. But then am I right in thinking has Drew officially joined the WarGames match?
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre. Yeah. We're waiting for a fifth member, which a lot of speculation that it could be Randy Orton, which would be pretty cool. Obviously, there's maybe someone else that some people would be excited to see, but I don't know how likely that would be. So Judgment Day and Drew McIntyre against Cody Rhodes and the gang. What do you think, David? Who's coming out with that one?
Team Cody.
Team Cody.
Yep. I cannot see them pinning Cody or any of his teams. So, yeah. And
Okay.
if whoever does come out as the surprise fifth member, they're not going to want to be on the losing team straight away, are they? So,
True. I think a lot of it does kind of factor on who that is. Do you know what I mean? Like, because again, it's like you say, if it's Randy Orton after a year or so out, like he's probably not going to want to be on the losing team, or if, and we'll talk about this in a moment. Obviously, the speculation's died down a lot, but there was a lot of heavy speculation at one point that it could be CM Punk returning at Survivor Series. Again, he's not going to be on the losing side. But if it was someone else, someone else just kind of hanging around the Raw roster like Otis. I like Otis, but yeah, it's not going to happen. What do you think, Kev? Who do you think? Do you think Team Cody are walking out with the men's War Games match where they'll use both rings extensively to paint a picture?
Well, they're fucking better. Yeah, but I'm going to go Team Cody. I'm just because it's quite sparse the card. I know there's 2 War Games matches on, but sometimes they don't go. So I'm not sure if there's going to be some surprise matches, like on the cards, because I don't know 5 matches on quite sparse, really. I think.
I could see them maybe adding one more, at least. Yeah.
Or maybe they've spent all the in 2 fucking rings together. Like the pair for 2 fucking rings, so they can only have 5 matches on. That's all I'm saying.
Do the losers have to disassemble the rings as well? So, like, will the Judgment Day have to take both rings down?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
think so. Yeah. That'd be a mint stipulation. Although it'd be a really boring end to the pay-per-view, just watching like Finn Balor untying the turnbuckle, like passing it to Damian Priest. So what do you think, Peter? Do you think the Judgment Day will get a win here, or do you think it's Team Cody?
I was talking about the other week. It'll be babyfaces.
Yeah,
that'll lead to some further descent. Moving back, going to be Team Cody. Oh, I've got a great idea because we've got 2 rings. Should be like this ring for the Judgment Day, and that'll look pretty. Just stuff to do.
Like base camp.
The thing is, like, they always call them goal.
Square rectangle.
It's the it's the rectangle. Just doesn't have the same name.
Rectangular circle. I'm going to remember that on Saturday.
I need to get a bird.
Joke.
Get the WWE network. So watch it. I'm not encouraging that at all.
No.
Do you remember through?
I'm going to go with Team Cody as well. What were we going to say there, Robbie?
I was just going to say that. Do you remember through COVID when they had the men's and the women's Money in the Bank match at the same time? Maybe that's what they used the 2 rings for.
See,
so whether
that would be a really good match, actually.
That makes sense, though. I'd support that. Matches going on. That makes sense. I'd support that.
If you're watching Triple H, that's what Kev wants. He wants 2 War Games matches going on inside War Games at the same time. And don't misinterpret that to be 4 rings, because that's too many. Although, can you imagine 4 rings?
It'd be like 40 pictures in London, you know.
Yeah.
All the matches going on at once. It'd be like that.
That'd be hilarious.
like performance sense.
Do those 5 matches
No,
really
no.
quickly if they did them all at the same time, though.
Yeah.
I'm going Team Cody just because I think it's one, it continues Cody's journey, but I think it weaves a bit of tension. Like if Rhea defends a title and they all lose, I think that tells a really cool story for like where they're going with the Judgment Day. So that's what I'm saying. What do you think, Robbie?
Yeah, Team Cody. Also, maybe Judgment Day lose. They beat down the winning team. Tell Priest to cash in. And just as he's about to do the pin, McIntyre claymores him, costs him the briefcase, so he knows he can go after Seth Rollins, and he hasn't got to worry about Priest cashing in. It's got to be a reason why McIntyre's joined Judgment Day, and it's got to be to get the title.
Yeah,
That'd be a good shout. Actually, cashing in during the WarGames. That's never happened before, so that'd be. There's no title.
you could do that in
Yeah, separate them. Yeah, but I mean, there's only the IC title on the line, so that.
Yeah. And then our 5-pointer, which to be fair, I think speculations died down for this a lot kind of in the last weeks, but I always felt like it was the question that we're going to ask with it being in Chicago. Will we see the return of CM Punk? Let's start with Robbie.
See, it's the hard. But if we were doing this podcast tomorrow and Orton wasn't announced, I would say yes. But I think if they don't announce Randy Orton and then get to Chicago, then announce him, they're going to have a lot of pissed off fans. So, no.
No. What do you reckon, Peter?
I'm just seeing if he's putting anything on his or anything. Hang on. No, I don't know. I'm kind of. But then again, it's died down so much. I'm inclined. So I can't imagine. And that's his match back. Why not? Yeah, he's turned up. Why not? Got out to lose. It's 5 points. I was only going to saying yeah. But
alrighty. I think it's a chance for someone to like potentially break ahead. Kev, what do you think?
Yeah, my heart says it wants to be. I'm going to go yes, but I reckon on Raw tonight, if there's any Punk references, like if Mago Cole says anything, or I don't know if there's any promos mentioning best in the world and stuff, he's like they'll try and be subtle, but if there's any Punk on Raw, he's there. That's my
Okay.
If they throw them teasers and then he doesn't turn up, they'll riot. Like it's not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they'll have to hide behind the
What
two
do you think,
rings
David?
in the cages.
That's true. That's very true. Then there'll be a use for 2 rings because they'll all be able to get behind the rings. So we're good. What do you think, David? Do you think Pepsi Phil is back?
Me heart says yes, but I'm gonna have to say no because I think something would have come out about it. Dave Meltzer would have said something about it on somewhere. So
yeah,
I'm gonna say no.
Meltzer's one of the people he throws so much stuff at a wall that two of them stick, and that's when people are like, oh yeah, he's right. Yeah. He just throws that.
I enjoy it where it's. I like it where he'd be like, "This could happen. It might not happen, but it could happen."
Maybe I need to try that.
What he does.
Maybe I need to try that tactic on the news channel. It's random shit.
Yeah. I'm gonna say no. And I'm more than happy to be proved wrong and lose my lead on this one. Like, I would love it if he did. I'm very like, and I'm willing to have egg on my face next week. I'm very confident that it's not happening. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, like I said, that is our predictions for Survivor Series for Wrestle Profit. It's Saturday night, isn't it? Saturday the 25th.
Yeah.
So obviously we'll catch up with you next week and let you all know kind of how our predictions have gone and how the event has gone. Do we have time to do heel turns, do you think? Or do you want to save that for another time? What do you think?
I'm happy either way.
Yeah,
let's go for it. Let's go for it. So we obviously on the Mark Side of the Ring channels, we were talking about kind of our favorite heel turns, some of the best heel turns of all time. As we've done in the past, we've got a little bit of a top 10 compiled by the votes from kind of Nerdy Up North and the Mark Side of the Ring channel. But yeah, let's just go through some of our, just off the top of our head, some of our favorite heel turns and see if they end up in there. For me, it's one of the true delights of wrestling, like when a heel turn is done well, either because it's unexpected or when you've seen it coming and they finally pull the trigger. I think both are great. I mean, for you, David, obviously, I know you've watched wrestling for a long time. Like, what are some of your favorite heel turns that you've enjoyed over the years?
Well, like you say, I'm classic WWF, with Hogan and Andre. That was amazing, and I loved the build up to the Mega Power splitting up. I think that was a really good one with Randy Savage's jealousy and all that leading up to WrestleMania 5. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I think it's Michael Hayes that apparently said it. Like, the best heels are the ones that are totally justified in what they're doing. So it's like you can boo them out of a building, but there's a part of you that's like, but you've got a point. Like, you've got it. Like, I can see why you've done it. And like Randy Savage at that point is a really good example of that. Like, yeah, like Hulk Hogan was a bit of a dick, and he was putting things where they shouldn't. Well, he wasn't for long, but I think he would have liked to. Like, So yeah, like, you kind of got it. I mean, how about you, Robbie? Like, some of your favorite heel turns over the years?
Austin, when he joined Vince McMahon, because I never saw it coming.
Yeah.
The whole rivalry they had through the Attitude Era, and then to see him shake hands, you're like, what the fuck are you doing?
I always think that's a really interesting one because I feel like obviously there'll be a lot of people who hated that turn, and at like the moment is fantastic. Like WrestleMania 17 is one of the best. It's the best WrestleMania, I think, even still, and I think it's like that's an amazing moment. And for me, that closes the Attitude Era. Like that's like the epilogue. Do you know what I mean? It's like the Vince won. Do you know what I mean? And the book's closed. So like I do like that as a moment.
Plus,
like I think it's really cool.
I still believed back then, so that's why it hurt a bit more than other ones.
Yeah. No, totally fair. Totally fair. How about you, Kev? What would you say? Kind of what stands out for you for a great heel turn?
Well, there's a few for me. I mean, during the Attitude Era, China turning on Triple H, that was a really big one for me. I think when she joined like Vince's corporation, and again, it was really like out of the blue, and then Triple H then turned heel on at that WrestleMania. That was was hard to digest because it basically split up DX. So yeah, that there's like so many. Like, I think. But what we were saying before, right? If a wrestler wears a leather jacket to turn and heel, they must have this certain.
Yeah.
And you can
looks like he's got a flashes.
And you can always tell as well, right? When a wrestler's in the ring and they hug and shake hands, if the wrestler takes a step back, he's going to turn heel. Like he's going to turn heel and like do something. Like I've watched them all, and like as soon as he takes a step back, right, he's gonna like smack him or knock him out, and like it always happens. If you watch any heel turn, watch it. Like when they hug or shake hands, the wrestler will step back and then But yeah, I think from watching an actual heel turn like live was the Triple H at WrestleMania 15. That was the biggest one for me. I was absolutely devastated.
I think for a more recent one and just kind of the ramifications it's had since, Seth turning on the Shield is one for me.
Yeah.
Because in my head it was going to be Ambrose. Do you know what I mean? Like, and also like I didn't think it was going to happen yet. Like they were really riding high, and I thought it's going to happen eventually, and it'll be Ambrose. But we've probably got another 6 months. Like it came at a time like when I least expected it, and out of the three of them, the one that I like in hindsight, that seems crazy, you know, but like he was the one I expected the least. So like I really enjoyed that as a heel turn because it genuinely got us. I also love the Festival of Friendship as well in Owen's turn. I mean, they were already heel, so it wasn't really a heel turn, but like he turned on Jericho. Like I just love all of that because it was that classic WWE cheesiness of like the Festival of Friendship. It was almost like Mankind and The Rock, this is your life. And then like, how come my name's on this list? And then that, so like, I absolutely love that. I also love Jericho throwing Shawn Michaels through the Jeritron 5000, which is kind of a hark back to Shawn Michaels throwing Marty Jannetty through the window. So like, you know, again, I thought that was really cool as well.
Cowardly ran through the glass.
Yes. Yes,
there's a difference.
Yes, I stand corrected. But yeah,
you know what,
yeah. So that's one of mine.
No, I'd like to know. Like, I'm curious as well. Like, anyone watching, if you've ever seen a heel turn at live, like watched it live at an event, like in the audience, I just wonder what the atmosphere is like after that person's turned heel. Like after watching them as a baby face, like maybe like high fiving the crowd and then they turn heel afterwards. I've always wondered what it's like at that minute, at that moment. Like, so it'd be cool if anyone's listening and they've actually witnessed that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, at All In, I was pretty sure that it was going to be Adam Cole, and I was ready to lynch him. Like, it was like that was unbelievable. Like, they totally played us there. Like that whole main event with Adam Cole and stuff was fantastic. And because you were thinking, who's it going to be? And I think if it had been, I think I've said this before. If it had been MJF, you would have been like, huh, it's MJF. Yeah, of course. But if it was Adam Cole, I think like the whole of Wembley would have like risen up and just beat the shit out of him. Like, because in that moment, it was real. Like, you know what I mean? In that moment, what I was watching was real because I was so engrossed in it. I mean, how about you, Peter? Like, what are your kind of great heel turn moments?
You mentioned the Shield, and obviously first, which I totally missed it. No. Gargano on, Ciampa on Chicago too.
Oh yeah,
that was
good because that match was intense as well.
But again, that had been with the build had been going on for a while, like how they felt about each other, and putting a little title credit in the bottom corner. Show's over. Think again. That was a nice little touch.
So clever.
So I think that one, the Shield, not quite. MJF throwing the towel in on Cody was pretty big because he's not. Everyone, he was a heel, but he was, he's Cody's guy. He's just a dick. You know what I mean? It's like, do you remember like when Sting and Luger in the early 90s when Luger was the heel, but he was Sting's friend and Sting will keep him right type of thing. So, and then when Sting's not looking, Luger's being a dickhead. So there was that one in it, but it kind of really did at that time because everyone was so hot for Cody. And MJF throwing that towel in because despite everything else, Cody was his friend, and then he threw it in, and then that's all part of the plan. Diesel on Brett at the end of the Survivor Series was good when he beat him in. And I always remember the promo that followed when he said he's not going to apologize for what he did to Brett. And the famous line is, he says, I'm not saying I'm not going to slap hands, but I better have a black glove on it. And now that's stuck with me for nearly 30 years now. I don't know why, but it sticks in me head. So you can see that's why it sticks in. And one which I wish I could have seen and appreciated was the Freebirds turning on the Von Erichs and slamming the cage. I wish I could have seen at the time what that kind of a heel turn was like, because that's when everyone was buying in. No one was really smart to it, and that would have been to see that kind of heel turn live and be around for it would have been something pretty good. And so they're the ones that always kind of come to mind when you think about heel turns.
See, another one for me was the Mark Henry on John Cena. Because that was a time when that we were smart to it. We knew it was predetermined, but nobody, well, especially me, because there was no build up to it, nobody saw that fucking coming. And it rejuvenated Mark Henry's career.
Yeah. And he was just so convincing. Like, you did think he was retiring, like he'd been around long enough that was like a plausible thing.
In that pink
then
salmon
boom.
jacket.
Yeah, with a
But he
salmon
still
jacket.
has. Apparently, he still has.
Well, yeah, because that's like one of his career highlights. It's got to be. I think when you were talking about NXT, Kevin Owens turned on Sami Zayn on night one, like, because that was just awesome. And I mean, to be fair, I love anything involving Owens and Sami, so that's just kind of another chapter in their story, isn't it? But yeah, that was absolutely awesome. I mean, are there any? I mean, to be fair, like we'll get to the top 10 that were voted in a minute. But are there any heel turns that you think maybe didn't work or fell flat, or any that you remember for the wrong reasons?
Ahmad Johnson joining the Nation of Domination. No one gave a shit. It was like,
Unlike The Rock, obviously we're not talking about The Rock, but to be fair, Rock turning heel and joining the Nation, and that kind of that saved his career. Whereas Ahmed maybe didn't have the same fortune, to be fair to him.
Yeah, because he was hated, really. I mean, everyone said, "Oh, he was really over in '96." I'm like, really? Because I used to watch it, and I didn't really rate him that much. But yeah, I think with the Rock turning, I think that was just there wasn't any build up that because he was injured for a few months, and he attacked someone, and that was like he did that promo about all you saying Rocky sucks and die Rocky and stuff. That was good. He just got all the vitriol out, and then he was just this character because the Rocky Maivia character is really tough to watch now. You think, no, that's the Rock. So it was good how we managed to turn that around.
When I was listening to The Rock on Joe Rogan podcast, and he said he had to beg Vince McMahon for those few minutes to cut that promo, which is what The Rock said it needed to be done, and that's what solidified that heel turn. I mean, I wasn't into Rocky Maivia at all. It would fucking bloke with her tassels, a bit like fucking Dalton Castle in AEW.
There's a thing.
What a comparison!
Rock had that other heel turn at the Survivor Series with '98 when he was starting to kind of turn face, and then they kind of plot out through that tournament. And I remember watching it. Still, I knew the game was in. I knew what the fix was in, type of thing. I knew, but then when I was still shocked by it, I was like, and that's when it was one of those times when you're on the verge of crossing over from buying everything on screen to start to think something a bit off, and I was on that verge, and that happened. I was like, that can't be. It kind of brought us back to being just a pure unadulterated fan again, and that was really well done as well. Like kind of throughout that night.
It was the first ever Shane storyline, wasn't it? Where he was like going against Vince, and then you realise it was all a plot, like with Vince that night, and they sort of recreated the screw job as well because Rock got Mankind in the sharpshooter. And then, but yeah, we've went from the people's champion to the corporate champion, like the corporate eyebrow and the corporate elbow.
To be fair, even like his Hollywood heel turn, like in 2003, like I loved that, where he just kind of just rejected everybody and to be fair, like everyone was still cheering him because he was hilarious. But like I loved that it was just like, no, like you boo me, fuck off. Like I loved that. Like I thought that was great. So I think The Rock's always been a bit of a master at a heel turn.
Isn't that when he gave Helms let Helms go over?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was a weird booking.
It's hard to think of heel turns that have went bad because not a lot. Whether they lead to great success or not, they tend to do what they need to do, is give the characters something different to do. The only ones that really did that didn't work were probably Goldberg's in WCW. And as iconic as it is, the Austin heel turn didn't really work because for the starters, like, no one's interested in booing Steve Austin. No one was interested in booing Goldberg.
But he was a comedy heel, wasn't he, Austin? Really?
Yeah.
And I liked that. Like, I think I'm in the
Him and Kurt
minority.
Angle.
Like, I enjoyed that. But I know most people.
The cowboy hats.
Yeah. Like, but I get a lot of people. I feel like when he turned heel again after the invasion, I feel that one fell a little flat because then it was just booing him now because he's WCW, not, you know. But yeah, it was an interesting year for him, really. I think.
I've got a heel turn that I'm surprised Mike hasn't brought up. Mick Foley in ECW.
I nearly did, you know. I nearly did. Kane Dewey and all of that stuff. Like, so those problems. There's that, but then I also love where he just kind of sort of rejected hardcore altogether. It was just like,
the ultimate heel
loving
move, isn't it?
WCW and yeah, fantastic. And then he kind of sort of replicated that in 2006 a little bit, kind of for the second One Night Stand. But yeah, no, I mean, to be fair, Mick Foley's always been good at heel turn. But again, the problem is he's such a likable guy that it's hard to boo him, even at the best of times. So, like, I think his 98 heel turn's really good, like when he was Dude Love and went all corporate. But again, it's like, it was always hard for me to boo Mick Foley, to be fair.
I think a lot of performers get up. Sorry, go on.
I think that's Foley was the victim. Lag. You speak. No, you speak.
I think you get some performers get to the point where they're going to get cheered regardless. You know, Flair's got to a point where everyone just wants to cheer him because there's just so much respect there. You know, Eddie Guerrero got to a point like that one. Austin's a point. You know, Rock's probably at that point now, but he's probably still probably get away with playing the heel. Edge was like that. They should never have turned Edge heel when he was back in WWE. No one wanted to boo him. They were just so happy to see him again.
No.
And I think you've got to. It's a tightrope, but I think you just got to understand that some people just don't want to boo, and some people are just either career heels or career baby faces.
I think,
Because like,
I know the Ultimate Warrior refused to. Vince McMahon wanted to turn it, but he refused, and I just couldn't see the Warrior. Like, with his like mental madness, mad character, I couldn't see that as a heel, or whether he would just reject it and then become this like normal person. But I think that's what Vince wanted him to do, and he just refused. But yeah, like there's some, like you said, career baby faces. Even though Warrior was a shit house, but career baby face.
See, that's the way I feel of Moxley and AEW at the minute. The BCC are meant to be heels, but nobody's gonna boo him. I mean, the music doesn't strike me as heel music for starters, and they just can't. They want him to be heel. Well, Tony Khan, but the fans are just like, nah, fuck you. We're gonna cheer him.
I think one more that's popped into my head, and I think it's just to kind of give women's wrestling a bit of love. I really like Trish Stratus's heel turn at WrestleMania 20. Obviously when she turned on Jericho and kind of teamed up with Christian, because I think that Trish Stratus, like, as a great babyface as she is, and we all love her, like, she's an immense heel, like, absolutely immense. And funny enough, WWE Network of that timing's quite interesting because they've recently done a show of like the greatest heels, and the one women's wrestler that's showcased there is Trish Stratus, which I think says a lot. Like, I enjoyed her last heel turn. I feel like they maybe could have done a bit more with that, to be honest. Like when the whole thank you Trish, and she more than held her own against Becky in the cage as well. And that ties in really nicely with something I was wanting to say towards the end. But first, let's get into the top 10. What are the top 10 heel turns that have been deemed by the Nerdy Up North and Mark Side of the Ring groups? Have you got them there, Robbie? Or do you want me to
yeah. Sorry, yeah. So number 10 is the Montreal Screwjob. Vince turns on Brett. So so to speak.
Brett Scoop Brett.
And we haven't heard the fucking end of it since.
I'm not going to take any Bret Hart shite from someone who bought a Bret Hart Funko Pop today.
I had to for the collection. I've got Hulk Hogan one, and I fucking don't want that one.
Look at Hogan.
Fucking hell.
That's amazing. Anyway, carry on.
So a lot of these were joint, so they got like the same
Mhm.
votes. Number 9, you've got Vince revealed as the higher power,
Mm-hmm.
which was
Austin.
Bought it.
So there's a few we got in number 8 that were tied. So you've got Triple H turns on X-Pac,
Mhm.
Christian turns on
Yeah.
Edge, Jericho turns
Yeah,
on
no, that-
Michaels, Owen Hart turns on Brett, Andre on Hogan, and then Ollie Anderson on Dusty Rhodes. Those come into the same amount of votes.
I would have thought, although to be fair, we haven't talked about it. I thought Owen and Brett would have been higher, but to be fair, we haven't talked about it either. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I know me place.
So then you've got 7. You've got Austin joins McMahon.
Mhm.
Triple H turns on Daniel Bryan SummerSlam, which I thought was a good turn.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
spent
that was a good turn.
He spent months building Daniel Bryan up. You've got Paul Bearer turns on The Undertaker.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that is a good one.
And then this one, the timing of the heel turn was right. I just think the heel run was shit, and that was Ambrose on Rollins because they'd done it on the night Reigns went off with his leukemia.
Yes.
But then you later find
then
out
they went-
Ambrose didn't want to do it that night anyway.
And
But
then
I
they
thought
went
the
down
timing
that.
was right.
Was that when they did the angle where he wore like the gas mask and so that everyone
Yeah.
stunk?
Preceded that, yeah.
Yeah. But the
Yeah,
turn was good.
Yeah, I mean Moxley wasn't a fan of that, and I don't think any fans were either. So you've got 6, the Bret Austin double turn,
Mhm.
Kevin Owens Festival of Friendship, number 6.
Love it.
5, you've got Champ returns on Gargano. The Mark Henry heel turn comes in at 4.
Nice.
Rollins on the Shield's 3rd.
Mm.
Which I thought that
I think a
would
lot of that's
be-
the ramifications of it since. If you think about where those 3 guys have gone since then, I guess that makes sense.
This one was a surprise for being quite high up. Because obviously the discussion we've just had about it, but Austin turns on the WWE and joins the Alliance. That come in at number 2.
Yeah, maybe that was just my opinion. That one was just a bit flat for me, but it's nice to hear that other people enjoyed it.
Yeah. And then joint top, you've got Hogan joins the NWO and Marty Jannetty cowardly running through the glass.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're classics. To be fair, we've not talked about Hogan joining the NWO, but yeah, that's that is a good one. And we touched on Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty as well. So yeah, I mean, to be fair, any others that we've missed, any others that are your favourites, again, let us know. So you can join us on Facebook. You can search for Mark's Side of the Ring. We've got a group and a news channel page now. Get yourselves on there. We're on TikTok as well, Instagram. I think we're on all the socials somewhere or another. And you can email us at marksidepod@gmail.com. One more thing before we go, because it got me thinking when we were talking about Trish Stratus and talking about Robbie's resemblance to Scott Steiner. So obviously, for the love of wrestling, it's coming up. It's March, isn't it? I keep saying thinking it's March forever, but it's March. Now, obviously, when guests have been announced, we've been obviously kind of breaking them down on the show. One of the first guests that announced was my teenage crush, one of my favorite women's wrestlers of all time, Trish Stratus. I am hoping to get to the event, and if I am, I'm absolutely going to go and meet Trish and get a photograph, hopefully. But this also coincides with some lifestyle changes that I want to make. You can't really tell when you can only see us from like the shoulders down, but I could do with losing a bit of weight. I could do with looking after myself a bit better, a few less kebabs, that kind of thing. So I've endeavored that I am going to lose some weight and just generally be a bit more fit. So let's see. So, does anyone have the date for the Love of Wrestling kind of to hand? Do we know when it is? 2nd and 3rd of March. Yeah. So we're talking about 4 months. Yeah. So what I'm going to do kind of over the next few weeks on the show, and I want you to hold me accountable for this because this will help me do it. I'm determined to lose a bit of weight. Yeah. I'm going to lose some weight so that when the con and we meet Trish Stratus, that I've lost a bit of weight and that I'm looking good. Yeah. So you can track my progress on this. I'm going to put it on the socials as well. So I'm going to weigh myself in the next couple of days and see where I'm at, and we're going to track this progress between now and March and see how I do. You know, ups and downs, all of that, and also that ties in nicely because we're heading towards WrestleMania season as well. I think as we get into March and for the Love of Wrestling. So we'll see how it goes. We'll keep it going for there. So be accountable for this, because then when we get, when I get to the Love of Wrestling, if we're able to get tickets and able to get, I can say, basically that fat mess looking back at us in years to come. And I'm not talking about Trish Stratus there. So that's the plan. So, like I say, what we'll do is in the next episode, I'm going to let you know how much I currently weigh. I'm going to see how it goes. So I might be kind of getting some tips from you, Robbie, because I know obviously you've put a lot of work in kind of getting yourself fit and that sort of thing lately. So I might be picking your brains in the near future.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's all we've got time for today's episode of Mark's Side of the Ring. We will be back next week. We'll talk all about the fantastic Survivor Series, the fantastic WarGames! Kev's favourite match. Until then, I've been Mike Norris. Thank you all very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.
See you later.